All right, how's everyone doing? Day 2 Ignite, best session of the day. You could have snuck out for a nap, but you're here. Thank you. Appreciate it. So what we wanted to do today, we'll optimize this session for you guys. We know we're standing in front of between you and drinks. So we're going to get to the point, and if there's any questions, feel free to ask at the end. But today what we're going to talk about is going through some of the announcements that we made yesterday with Adobe and Microsoft Foundry. But first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Anoop Sahgal, and I lead product marketing for our AI message across our Experience Cloud suite of products. And I've been at Adobe 12 years combined. I'm a boomerang. I came back last year with a 4-year teenage phase in between. And so I'm really good to be back. I live outside Portland, Oregon, and I'm here. So Sid, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Anoop. Hey, everyone, I'm Sid, or Siddharth, as you might see on the screen. I'm a product manager, part of the ecosystem team, and I work with Microsoft quite a lot on all joint product opportunities, all the good stuff that he'll talk about. Sometimes I'm behind the scene thinking about what we should be doing. So yeah, I've been with Adobe for about 9 years now and been across various different roles. So been fortunate to be on the stage here to talk about some of the stuff that we are doing. Over to you, Anoop.
Great, thanks. So we're going to be talking about our Adobe's AI agent, our Agentic framework, and specifically how we're partnering with Microsoft to drive some of the value and innovations for you guys going forward. So what we're going to be covering today kind of sits at the intersection of marketing and technology. It's two worlds converging very fast right now. And we're going to talk through essentially what's our vision that we, and from an agentic standpoint, what we talked about and announced earlier this year, what that means in practice. We'll also talk about how we're driving customer experience orchestration, a new category that we're looking to create here in the era of AI, and talk about how we're doing that with our agentic framework. And then third, Sid's going to go in through how we're working with Microsoft to bring these capabilities into the infrastructure you already trust. So talk about through Azure, to Copilot, and you'll see it woven throughout some of the content we're talking about today. So as we all know, I think this is nothing new that we're all seeing. You probably even heard it all the 2 days here, as well as everything that you've been hearing back at your work, which is AI is just completely reshaping and reforming how people are discovering, engaging, how we're looking to create and get work done. We're working together with Microsoft to help drive this. Some of the key behaviors that we're seeing is customers now are not going straight to brands' websites anymore. We're seeing consumers go to LLMs more, having conversations directly, and that's having brand implications. There's also huge shifts from a productivity standpoint on how we're trying to get work done internally within our enterprise. So raise of hands, how many folks are using Copilot to do search now? Who's using Copilot to actually do work, help you with productivity internally? So we actually use Copilot extensively internally as well to help us both from a productivity standpoint, but also to do search. So Microsoft's a critical partner for us, from the infrastructure that powers our platform to the interfaces that our agents and capabilities are surfing within to help your team. So, and we've seen this kind of pattern before for internet, cloud, mobile, social, and it's kind of changed how customers engage and disrupted how business operates. But the pace is completely different this time. The acceleration is so much faster. So if you take a look, Gen AI 3.5 years ago, and now we're at Agentic AI within that same time period. So the pace of innovation, the expectations are just completely insane right now. And as we enter this transformation era, we're trying to have to adapt as enterprises to this new reality. And what we're hearing consistently from the C-suite is AI is the new mandate. So how many of you guys are hearing just kind of get the scale, no resources, no budget? Find a way to go get that done. So the C-suite's kind of looking at AI as the lever to do that. So if you look at some of the numbers here from Gartner, 8 in 10 executives are looking at increasing productivity, cutting costs, driving growth through customer experience. So it's pretty consistent across the board, and they see AI as that strategic lever and pivot. So what we're hearing consistently is creativity is essential to help you as a brand stand out, and then also deliver that content at scale across channels that you didn't have to before. And consumers are expecting these interactions to be tailored, and you need to know their intent because they're providing it in these conversational interfaces. And now, from a team standpoint internally, we're just overwhelmed with all the information, data, and how do we collectively use this to drive more insights much faster. So pressure is real, and we're looking to AI and automation to help drive some of this. But what's also interesting is the implication is reshaping the behavior that drives customer experience and the workflows itself. So discoverability is shifting from AI-driven recommendations and summaries and changes how brands are reaching customers. So now when you're searching, you're just going straight to search. You get the AI summary and you kind of move on, or you just don't leave the LLM yourself. And engagement now is moving from like these static clicks to this conversational mode that consumers are expecting now, where they have the memory, context is set. Now, I don't have to restart the conversation every time, so you can now deliver me the experience that I'm expecting. And content velocity, this one's an interesting one because now you just don't have a ton of content to create just for humans. You also have to create it for AI to make sure that you're showing up and you're relevant and being able to continue to tailor those interactions. So each of these are driving kind of this new foundation to adapt and compete, and this is why building an agentic AI foundation is critical to help you compete in this new space. And so to deliver in this opportunity, move from AI frenzy to impact is what we say. You need the right toolkit, so one that's built for this era, and that's where Adobe comes in. So you all know us from our heritage, from creativity, but we're looking to purpose-build three things. One is experiences, creativity, and productivity. So creating those standout on-brand content at scale, being able to turn document insights into effective communications and intelligence quickly from a productivity standpoint, and experiences delivering this intent-based personalization at a scale that you just weren't able to before. And so these are all powered by our AI platform, bringing together the enterprise data, content, customer intelligence, and working with trusted partners like Microsoft. But today what I'm going to do is focus on creativity and experiences and how we're looking to define this new category called customer experience orchestration. And so how we like to talk about this or think about this is imagine a future now where you have purpose-built agents that are working with your teams to take on the repetitive manual work, but really focus on what humans are good at, which is creativity, driving differentiation and business growth. And so we're looking at these agents that are purpose-built for creative and marketing teams to be the accelerant to drive personalization at scale, to drive these impactful experiences with greater precision. And so what does this mean? If you look at it in kind of like a set of use case pillars, there's customer engagement, content supply chain, and brand visibility. So from customer engagement, it's really about delivering real-time intent-driven personalization across channels by uniting the content, data, and journeys. Content supply chain, it's really about accelerating the planning, creation, and activation of on-brand content at a scale that you weren't able to do while maintaining the brand integrity and maintaining governance. And brand visibility is really about ensuring your brand shows up now in this new AI-driven world, where with discovery and customers are able to engage with you conversationally. So these kind of connected use cases provide the measurable value across the customer lifecycle. And so with that vision in mind, how we're making it real is what we announced earlier this year is our Agentic framework, which is the Adobe Experience Platform Agent Orchestrator. And this is built on our Adobe Experience Platform, which is helping you ground essentially the understanding of content, data, and customer journeys. But we're not building a generic agentic platform where you can create your own agents that will solve any kind of problem. These are really out-of-the-box, purpose-built for customer experience orchestration, for your marketing and creative teams. And so we've built this with multiple constituents in mind. One is the practitioners, where they're able to interface and work with these agents, surfacing in the tools that they use every day to move faster within their existing workflows. But from a brand's end customers, it's really agents that serve your end customers directly in that conversational mode, which is now becoming more and more that customer expectation. And for the ecosystem, which we're going to cover today, is really about enabling interoperability between our agents and third-party agents to be able to extend and customize to solve more agentic use cases. And so if you take a look here, we've built these agents to map directly to key functions and key parts of the lifecycle to help drive customer experience and really help accelerate your teams. So each one's purpose-built to solve specific problems. So from planning, performance analysis, journey orchestration, they're there to kind of work with your teams. So for example, site optimization agent, which is part of experience management, it can surfaces issues and opportunities directly within your digital properties and help guides the customer experience in real time. And then from a B2B side, account qualification agent, it can act on behalf of the brand to interact with customers directly to qualify the leads. That way your teams can then focus on the ones that really more the high value follow-up. So it's really kind of this accelerant that's really mapped to key functions across the customer experience lifecycle. And we've adhered to some core principles throughout their approach. So our agents are kind of grounded in the semantic understanding of the content and data that powers these customer experiences. And they're built around real workflows of the creative and marketing teams. So based on the real world use cases that we're seeing across our customer base. And then we know that the tech stacks are diverse, like customers are building your own agents, you're working with multiple other agents. So they're extensible and designed to operate with our systems and beyond. And so responsibility is a core tenet also as part of our AI and building agents. So just like we do with Firefly, these agentic capabilities are built with trust, transparency, governance, and guardrails to ensure they're enterprise grade and aligned with your governance needs from the day one. And so there's a couple of, we have customer examples, but we're seeing it, prove it every day, and we're seeing more and more use cases from a lot of our customers. For example, Coca-Cola, they implemented a personalization strategy across e-commerce and marketing touchpoints, and they started with their Latin American brand. Using Adobe Experience Cloud, they were able to deliver these real-time personalized journeys through channels like WhatsApp and email and web, and that led to a 36% increase in revenue that was driven by higher engagement and conversion rates. Marriott is doing something similar with Adobe Experience Cloud to streamline their content updates and offer management across their digital channels. So this resulted in 90% improvement for in-market content, so the brand could better respond to traveler needs and market changes. And we're seeing more and more customers starting to adopt and looking to take on more of these early agentic use cases. But what I want to do today is really emphasize for this group the broader ecosystem. So like I said, our strategy is based to be extensible, interoperable, work with multiple vendors, specifically like Microsoft that we were talking about yesterday. You saw our CEO on stage. We also had another session with one of our heads of engineering. And so the ecosystem is exactly where Microsoft, we're partnering with them to come in. And I'm going to pass it to Sid, and he's going to show you how we're partnering specifically and providing innovations with Copilot and Microsoft Foundry. So Sid, over to you.
Thank you. I'll take the clicker. So now I'm the last one standing between us and drinks, so I'll try and wrap up early. So we want to start talking about how Microsoft Foundry is something we've been using, not just as a customer, but also trying to see how we can leverage this as a platform to bring it to our customers to start using it. So both Adobe as a customer, as well as for Adobe's customers. So let's look at that both. But before I get into it, maybe I'll run a good video. Can we play the audio, please?
Clear it. Nice. Now you can focus. With Adobe Marketing Agent for Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can get the answers you need to run a smooth campaign, right in Microsoft 365. Like estimate the conversion rate of a new audience. No math required. Keep track of your deliverables in seconds. And get quick campaign insights without skipping your lunch break. Streamline tasks with Adobe Marketing Agent for Microsoft 365 Copilot, the solutions that help you do everything marketing in one view. And bring productivity into focus.
Yeah, so I think the takeaway from that video is that we realized that a lot of the capability that sits in Adobe, along with all the good data that customers bring into it, the value of it is limited by how much customers can access and utilize it and get their questions answered. But by being able to integrate with something like Microsoft 365 Copilot, we will bring that functionality through agents into that surface. So if I was a marketer and if I was thinking about planning those campaigns, as you saw in those videos, I could ask questions and get responses right then and there within my workflow. So I will not have to switch over to some other surface, to an Adobe app to get those answers. You're still connecting and talking to Adobe, but through Copilot and getting your responses right there. So that's an innovation that we've been working on. You might have heard about it at this event as well as in some of the earlier Adobe events. But let me talk about Foundry today and spend more time on how we are utilizing Microsoft Foundry to build some of those capabilities. So I'll start with some of our legacy in terms of what we've been building so far. On Azure, we build these capabilities across the various categories within our apps. So for example, there's lots of customer signal that gets generated across various different customer touchpoints. So a brand is interested in tracking all of that to understand the context. So we established this data pipeline out of the box for our customers that will help them bring that data into a framework that they can manage their data and create a real-time customer profile on top of it. That enables them to create audiences that they can then use to activate across customer channels like your social, emails, or any other customer interaction channel that you might have. When marketers start thinking about running these campaigns, they also want to understand the effectiveness of those campaigns and measure the outcomes. So that's where having a dashboard, a UI that lets you measure your customer journeys and experiences across all of those touch points and nodes is critical. So we've got capabilities across each of them, and Azure is where we've built most of those capabilities across various different apps. Now with Agentic, we are now adding these agentic capabilities across each of those categories because there are a lot of those jobs to be done for different users across these different categories that can be automated and that can be made more efficient through these agents. And that's why we are doubling down on creating capabilities across each of those categories. Now let's see how does Foundry come into play. So continuing that momentum that we have with Azure and adoption across how our teams and development teams are using Foundry, let's talk about how the agentic capabilities that we are building are built on top of Foundry. So we've got these four, I would say, broad categories. For example, we access LLMs using Microsoft Foundry. There are some third-party tools that we use to be able to access external data. If our development teams are creating agents and they want to run test environment jobs, then they could run that within Foundry. They also have this agent playground where they can create these end-to-end custom workflows by combining multiple agents to actually see how the whole experience lives. So this is where Agentic becomes Foundry becomes really important for us to be able to build those capabilities, test them, and bring them into our products. So across Adobe, different business units and product teams and engineering teams are using it to build the capabilities that they have. But at the same time, we're also thinking about making these agents and agent orchestrator under those agents available as part of the Foundry ecosystem so that our customers' developers can start using agent orchestrator and the other agents to be able to create custom workflows utilizing Adobe's agents. So in that world, customers might start combining one of their own first-party agent with an Adobe agent to create a custom workflow where we start extending beyond the use cases that Adobe are supporting. So that's where we see Foundry serving as a platform, not just for us to build as customers of Microsoft, but also for our own customers. So let's go back to what Anoop was talking about in terms of the three pillars that we have, where we are trying to address functionality or capabilities for different kinds of users. And let's focus on the ecosystem developers. So as he mentioned, we are trying to see how can we create this ecosystem that can go across various different types of surfaces where we can find our users. For brand practitioners, we've got the Adobe Marketing Agent for M365 Copilot, which is our first flagship product with Copilot, where you would be able to, as a marketer, access Adobe agents and ask questions and get responses. This is focused more on the practitioner to make them faster and more efficient in what jobs they have. But then through the Foundry ecosystem, we'd be able to surface Agent Orchestrator and Adobe agents that will enable these developers and our customers to create those custom workflows, as I talked about earlier. And then the last one with Microsoft is, of course, the marketplace, where the opportunity here is for us to surface these agents so that our customers can discover and find these agents that will make their lives easier in terms of accessing and getting the goodness out of all the Adobe products that they have. So this is where we see that Foundry plays a critical role, not just to build, but also publish our agents and make it available for our customers to utilize it. So summarizing and wrapping up, what are some benefits of both the sides? for both the sides. Adobe as a customer, I think we are finding that with Foundry, all that different capability bundled together in one platform provides us the ability to move faster and develop at speed systems that are that have security and trust from Microsoft embedded. And then the observability and metrics tracking makes it easier for our teams to optimize and make them efficient, whatever they are building. And then for customers, I think the ability to discover and access agents, that's paramount. And then being able to create those custom workflows where they can drive more adoption of Adobe and value from Adobe by integrating into their custom workflows is going to be super helpful in terms of the value that we want them to drive from our systems. And of course, that whole ecosystem that Foundry provides serves as a good platform for our customers. That's where I think we can unlock a lot of that frontier success that we would want our customers with all these agents that we are building. So with that, I'll take a pause. That's where we wrap up, but open for any questions.
Optimized session.
Yeah, wrapped up pretty early.
I mean, we'll just close, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to come up. We'll be here for the duration of the session. So,
thank you.
Thanks.